Welcome to our discussion on moving from care planning to graduation planning. Today, we are going to explore strategies for moving from care planning to graduation planning, and then also hear and gain insights from other counties on successful models, adaptations, and lessons learned around organizing graduation. Um, we will have a live discussion, and this will be facilitated by Rachel Johnson Yates with Health Management Associates. Rachel Johnson Yates is a licensed mental health addiction counselor, and she'll be facilitating a live discussion with representatives from County Behavioral Health to share their experience on graduation planning on the ground. So we'll now turn to that live discussion.
All right. So now we're going to move into the what you all came here for, which is the panel discussion. We can go to the next slide. All right. And so I will let our panelists introduce themselves because they do a much better job than I do. So, Karina, if you don't mind kicking us off, that we'd love to hear a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
Yes, of course. So I'm Karina Gustafson. I'm an administrator with the Riverside University Health System Behavioral Health. So that's Riverside County Behavioral Health Department. I've been in this position since care started here in Riverside, and I've been with the county for going, I think, 19 years now.
Thank you. Thank you. Charlie, would you mind going next?
Hi, I'm Charlie Newcomb. I'm with San Francisco Department of Public Health Care Court. I am the program manager and I'm also a behavioral health clinician, so I carry a caseload of Care Court clients. I've worked in Care Court since December 2023, and I've been with the Department of Public Health for about 4 years.
All right. And Santanja.
Good morning. My name is Santandra Ratliff. I am a licensed clinician with the Care Court in San Diego County. I started with Care Court about 6 months after the start of the program, so I've been with them since.
All right, wonderful. So we are going to jump into some questions for the panelists. For all of you that are attending and on the line with us today, our format today is really informal. The panelists here are really some of our leading experts in care graduation. We're just really thankful that they've volunteered their time to be with us today. So at any point during the conversation, please feel free to drop a question in the chat, to come off mute. If you're a person that likes to use the raise hand feature, you can do that. But this is for you that have logged in today. And so any questions that you have or any comments that you have, please know that those are welcome in whatever way that you are comfortable sharing or asking. And with that, I will kick us off. So, Charlie, if you don't mind, we'll start with you. And so, graduation practices vary pretty significantly across counties. Do you mind sharing a little bit about how your county is currently approaching graduation, and just thinking about what sorts of like indicators, milestones, um, are 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 relevant to whether or not a person is ready for graduation, and how are you kind of navigating this goals versus readiness, pathway?
So what we really look for is for the client to be stable, so that they are, participating in services. So they have a primary care provider. They're attending to their medical needs. They have a mental health team that they are working with, and either they are stable or heading towards stability. And I should say that doesn't always mean medication. We want to look at housing. So that's really, really important. Are they housed? Is that housing stable? Is that housing safe? We want to look at as well as benefits. Do they have a source of income? So that's the baseline, what we look at. If those things weren't in place, then we really wouldn't look at graduation. So we want to see those things in place. Then, of course, other things as well, are they involved in healthy relationships? their substance use. So we don't ask for sobriety or abstinence, but are they managing their substance use that they doesn't impact their mental health? Um, and other issues that they might have identified that's unique to their care agreement. We want to make sure some people, we have one person who wants a passport, another person who wants to work, in a specific field, vocational rehab. And so those are the type of things that have to at least be started before we
Mhm.
even think about graduation. So that's kind of the baseline from what we work.
Right. Thank you, Charlie. So it sounds like you all are really invested in kind of a harm reduction ideology here, right? So a person doesn't have to be fully compliant with medications. If they're using substances, we understand that that's the reality for a lot of the people that we serve, and it's very much more about how does that impact their stability? And if the substance use is throwing them off and really destabilizing them, then they may not be ready. But if
Right.
it's more casual and not having those sorts of impacts, and those are things that you're able to roll with a little bit.
Yes.
Thank you. Santanja, same question. How are you kind of approaching graduation in terms of indicators? How are you balancing the to-do list with readiness? What's kind of the approach that you all have?
Well, when we look at graduation readiness, we don't just look at one single outcome or goal. We look at overall. So their overall progress. So we look at kind of where they were when they first began the program, and also looking at those care goals that were created because they were specifically goals individualized per that person. So it was heavily their idea of what they think they need or what they would like to see in order to maintain stability in the community. So we look at that overall, like how are they progressing towards stability? If they have a history of substance use, have they been able to maintain, recovery from substance use? Are they meeting with their provider? Are they like if they want to volunteer, like what are some of the things that kind of keep them active in the community rather than, some of the things that we see in the beginning, such as withdrawals, isolation, poor coping skills. So we kind of look at overall the progress that they're made, but we also reiterate from the very beginning that it is time limited. So we kind of reiterate that in the very beginning that it's a 2-year program. However, at that 1-year mark, we really look at if they're not ready for graduation, what goals or what steps do we need to really focus on to kind of get them to the point where they're ready for that graduation, for that next step and that next transition.
That's really great. And so it sounds like for you all, there's not really a need to have a clean check off that every single item is completed, but are we well on our way? And again, that stability is there. And then it sounds like communicating early on, hey, this is the time frame that we're going to be with you. So what can we get done in this time frame? What does this look like? And then reapproaching that as appropriate with that person. Awesome.
Yes, exactly.
Karina, how about you all?
Well, I think we all kind of do the same thing, right? We want to look at the whole person and make sure that they're in a place where they are independent and they are able to function um, on their own. But we start the graduation planning quite early. We don't wait till like the 12 months to see, oh, are they ready or not? Um, a lot of times we communicate around maybe month 9 or so with the whole team, including the public defender and so forth, and to kind of see what everybody thinks, where are they at, what is it that needs to be done, so forth, for this person to be ready. And then at the 11th month hearing, that's where we discuss, are they ready to graduate or not for the following month? And we look to see if they are connected to services, if they are stabilized. Stabilization is the number one, that they are stable enough to be able to independently carry on with services and their life in general on their own. And when I say on their own, they're never going to be alone. They're still going to have help from other people, but without the care team. And if they are able to function independently and if the care goals are met, whatever was in that agreement, if those things are met, then they should be able to graduate.
That's really helpful. So it sounds like you all build in some time-bound checkpoints that for each person, and correct me if I'm wrong, for each person, month 9 is where we're really digging in. Like, is it okay? Is it time for us to start creating the graduation plan? And if so, then 11 months is when that's presented to line that person up for that 12-month graduation. Um, and and it doesn't happen like that for everybody, but that's kind of the
Right.
checkpoints that you have built in the initial
Yeah.
the framework.
Yes, and I mean, at month 9, we may say, there is a few more things they
Mhm.
need to work on, but let's see in another month how they're doing, and then we'll check back to see. So that happens quite a lot, and then it could be that, at that point it's like they're not even close to being
Yeah.
able to graduate. Of course, that happens. Or maybe we get to the month 11 and they have a couple of things that's not quite aligned. And we say, let's continue, and there may just be another month or two and then they could be ready.
I love that. So then even if, it looks like everything's a go in month 9 and you get to month 11 and and things have changed or we're not quite where we thought we would be in month 11, that you've offered yourself the flexibility to say, let's reevaluate here
Yeah.
and kind of doing a month by month touch
Mhm.
point at that point.
Yeah,
That's great. And Karina, if you don't mind me starting with you for the next question,
of course.
you talked about what, kind of how you approach care graduation planning. Would you mind sharing a little bit more about what sorts of things are you putting into your care agreements, care plans? Like what does a really good comprehensive care service package, right? What all are you putting in there to support the people you're working with?
Of course. So for the care agreement, we have all the different types of services that may be necessary for this person to be independent and functional, right, on their own. And so it will have any treatment that they may need, substance use treatment, behavioral health treatment, if they need social services, housing, all those different sections are part of that agreement. So it is really person-centered around what their needs are.
That's great. And so it's no two agreements are looking the same necessarily. You have the same sort of categories, but it's not
Yes.
necessarily, yeah, it's not a copy
Right.
paste situation.
It's like a template of
Uh-huh.
categories so that we're not missing anything, so to
Sure.
speak. We have that, but then you'll fill in on each area what you need to do for that person.
That's great. Santaja, same question around what does a strong agreement or graduation plan look like in your county?
So our graduation plan starts, there are several conversations that we have with the participants. So some of them are done, the beginning stages, we kind of discuss over the phone, like, we're doing the graduation planning. So, kind of give them a little time to start thinking about like kind of what that will look like for them. So
Mhm.
that includes, over the phone, in person, as well as, we incorporate our peer support specialists as well. To kind of highlight with them, the scary part of graduation planning, because we know this is a big step for a lot of our individuals. So basically, we have the graduation plan, which is a template where we look at, who their providers are going to be. So what is that transition going to look like? So who is the behavioral health provider going to be? Who is your primary care doctor? What medications are you on? What are the things that are going to change? Or what are the things that are not going to change? It also highlights, those warning signs, because we want them to be aware at this point of what those warning signs and triggers are, so that they kind of know when these warning signs or triggers happen, here is the plan. So it outlines what are those supports for them. What can the supports do for them, when they need the support the most, kind of what supports would know to look out for, to know, hey, something's going on, how can we step in and how can we be of assistance? And we also start highlighting the psychiatric advance directive, which is the PAD. That's something that we really incorporate with them, because at that point they're in a good space where they're able to complete that psychiatric pad, which gives them that voice. So we kind of highlight to them that this pad gives you that voice. So when a point in time comes, if that time comes, when you're not able to verbalize what you want, this pad outlines those wishes of yours that can be implemented, in situations of crisis. So it involves a lot of documentation, a lot of preparing, and also, kind of reassuring them that this is about your continuation of care, and not necessarily losing anything, but it's also just highlighting the progress that they've made and that they have come a long way. And it was because of their dedication and interest in actually, being stable in the community.
That's great. So it sounds like the care agreement process is a very much about, if I heard you correctly, is very much about what is going to change for you because you're participating in care, and then the graduation plan itself is, what are we going to keep in place to help keep you stable. And I love the incorporation of the psychiatric advance directives because it is during care is really a wonderful opportunity to
Mhm.
have that conversation with folks because you're talking about so many important things anyway. I appreciate you highlighting that because it is a really great opportunity to use that tool. Charlie, same question. What's graduation planning looking like? What's incorporated in that in San Francisco? Oh, Charlie, you're still on mute.
So with the graduation plan, we want to make sure the client's providers are aware their court will be ending. So we make
Yes.
sure I'm no longer a contact, that the client has a team out there that will be responsive to the client's needs. Um, and so we really have a team meeting prior to that, really writing up the graduation plan. Are we all on board, including the client? And so we want to make sure the client knows this is who I contact when I need such and such.
Mhm.
And so we make it very detailed in that sense. We get everyone on board. Part of the graduation is to have the providers there, and that could also include church members, family members, all the things that support the client. So that's included in the graduation plan, and it's somewhat detailed. So it's literally, how do I get to my primary care provider? What bus do I take? It's
Mhm.
very, you know, you're not going to be able to call me anymore. And that's the big kind of jump for clients because the care team is highly responsive,
Yeah.
and now you're taking that away. And so really to, empower the client, like you have been doing this. We're just putting this in writing,
Mhm.
and there are people there you can call. So it's really helping the client to just outline what they've been doing already, that they are stable, they are participating in their own care. And therefore, you don't need the extra support from your care team because you're doing it already. So it's really just a document that highlights the work done by the client and the people who would back up the client.
That's really great. And as you were saying that, I got a little vicarious anxiety for for some of the folks, right? And again, in many counties, the behavioral health team that they've been working with will be the behavioral health team that they continue to work with. But that accountability, the judge, the care team, that extra layer of support is really, really wonderful for folks. And I think thinking about how do we help them with that transition is super, super important. And Santaja, I'd love to start with you around those transitions and that continuity of care. Because I think, Charlie, that was a perfect segue into that conversation. How do you all plan for transition planning? And I'm going to combine a couple of questions here, if you don't mind. That's my favorite thing to do, which is not always great for panelists. But how do you plan for that transition, and how do you avoid the cliff effect, right? So when people are like, "Oh gosh, Charlie was my lifeline. What am I going to do without Charlie?" How are you navigating that to ensure continuity? And to avoid that like drop off panic and then all of a sudden we're back where we started.
Yes, so we do have participants that, they become reliant on care and they
Sure.
they get attached to care. So, some of them don't want to let it go because they're like, I've never had this before, and I don't want to lose it. I'm afraid that I might lose this, and then what'll happen? What'll happen to my services? What'll happen to my housing? Who's going to continue to help me, get to appointments? So we kind of, to help them kind of with that clip effect, we kind of start addressing those concerns specifically to the individual by having them to identify what is triggering the fear and the anxiety, of the transition. Because for some, it's the housing piece. Oh, I might have to leave right now, my placement, or I haven't started receiving disability income. What am I supposed to do? Who's going to assist me with those things? So a lot of times we specifically address those and we kind of, assure them. We also tell them it's okay to have that fear and anxiety because of the transition, but we also assure them that we're going to do a warm handoff. So we will not close an individual's case until everything transitions over. So we kind of assure them that we're still going to follow you. We're still going to be there to support you to make sure that you transition over to your new provider, and that they make sure that if the housing piece is still something that needs to be sorted out, we make sure that that's sorted out, as well as they can connect it and assure them that the providers are going to continue those goals. So their goals that they've set won't stop, that they'll continue to receive the same support that they had with the CARE Act. It's just that court oversight piece will fall off, is that we trying to assure them that nothing else is going to change but the court piece aspect of their services. And that kind of helps them assure them that at least I know that, I won't be done with care court until everything has fully transitioned over. So that kind of helps ease some of that anxiety and fear.
I really like that. So it sounds like you are kind of helping folks dip their toe in the water, right? So you're kind of
Mhm.
introducing them to this idea. It's a slow warm up of, all right, graduation's coming. This is what it's going to look like. We're going to get you transitioned over while the care team is still in place, and then start kind of almost tapering off
Yes.
contact a little bit.
Yes.
It makes a lot of sense that people would feel really connected to their care team because, in a lot of instances, the care team is the group that has been in the weeds with them to help them get stabilized when they've had a really long period of instability. And so,
Yes.
I think it makes a lot of sense. I love that. Karina, what about you all? Same question. What are you doing to help smooth transitions, strong continuity of care, and to avoid a cliff effect?
Sometimes it's unavoidable, just like what we just heard. But we start very early on to once we get the participant to start going to a clinic, we connect them with services there. We help them how to navigate for transportation, whether it is through their insurance company to help them with transportation, or maybe join them on a bus ride to show how you take a bus from point A to point B, whatever that may need to be. So at the time of graduation, it really has been tapered in
Mhm.
for a long period of time. And that's part of their readiness, that they can do all these things. Uh, if they can't, they wouldn't be ready to graduate. So we know they're ready. They may not agree because they do like that extra help. But just to remind them that, hey, look how far you've come and look at all these things that you can do on your own. So praising them for what they're able to do goes a long way, and they feel proud of what they can do. And then also with a connection to new people, because when they're connected to another behavioral health clinic, there will be a peer there. There will be, a case manager. There will be a therapist, a psychiatrist, and so forth. So they're connected to them and feel comfortable there. So that's really important because that way they don't feel all alone when we
Right.
step away. It's just not as big of a team doing everything, but they still have a team on their side.
Yeah, and that change is hard. I mean, change is hard for anybody, right? And I think especially we know that for folks that have serious mental illness and or substance use, that change can be a significant trigger for recurrence of symptoms. And so I really appreciate your thoughts about how to be vigilant about that on the front end and understand that that's part of what we're doing rather than it being, a surprise when a change triggers something like that. That's really great. Um, Charlie, what about you all? What are you doing in that realm? You touched on a little bit of it earlier, but what are you doing to help with that continuity there?
So we want to make sure the client is able to access their treatment providers without the care team facilitating that. So that's a good indicator. Someone ready for graduation, if
Mm,
independently, they can make the appointment with a psychiatrist and keep that appointment. So we want to make sure they're able to do that. And if we find that is the case, we in the care team slowly kind of back away. So you're not
mhm.
going to see me every week. You're not going to hear from me every week. So it's more like you now really rely on these permanent providers. And we gauge, are they actually doing that? That will
Mhm.
tell us, yes, you are ready. And if there are bumps in the road, we want to know that and we
Yeah.
want to address it and kind of figure out what's the problem before graduation. So it's really the client's ability to utilize the services they have that are in place that will be permanent, regardless of care court, and are they actually then following through independently? And are those as well, are they matched with a treatment provider that can work with them? Because
Yeah.
they are going to need help, right? So they are going to have some minor lapses. Is how we match them with a treatment provider that can meet them where they're at, can connect with them.
Mhm.
And we need to know, we'll ask, do you like your case manager? Or do you, like, is this someone you really want to work with in the long term? And clients are very honest and they will tell us what they need. And so we want to make sure that is respected and as much as possible that is in place prior to graduation.
I like that. So it's almost a pilot graduation that you're
Yeah.
doing before they officially graduate. So letting them flex their muscles a little bit, have opportunities to stumble, see how it goes, offer that support, and then let them try again. And then when we're getting close is when they're actually able to fly a little bit.
Yes.
Um, okay, so we have some good comment in the chat, and I want to take a minute to pause and open up for questions before we move on to the graduation ceremony itself, because I think that's something that people are really interested in hearing about. First is just a thank you to San Diego County for sharing their graduation plan, and that this person's county is actually working on a graduation themselves because of the plan that you all shared. So thank you. And then Catherine says in the chat that graduation in our specialty treatment court program involves going to court, having the judge and treatment team speak to the client's progress, Client is also invited to share about their experience, and families invited to share if the client agrees to that. Curious if CARE does something similar during the actual court graduation with judge, PD, etc. If anyone can share about the court proceedings for graduation. Catherine, I could not have paid you to tee me up for the next question any better. So thank you for putting that in the chat. That's great. So Charlie, I would love it if you don't mind kicking us off here. So when you think about the CARE graduation itself, how are you all approaching making this exciting, making it a person-centered experience for folks?
So we ask the person who's going to graduate, who would you like to invite? So normally the proceedings are very limited as to who's actually allowed in the courtroom. But on a graduation, we say invite anyone you like. So if clients have invited significant others, family members, religious leaders, and then everyone who's been working with the client is also there. And we acknowledge their hard work. They get a kind of graduation certificate. They also get this medal, just acknowledging their hard work. Get a gift card. We usually have something nice to eat just to kind of finalize that moment. But yeah, it's different than the other proceedings in that it's not as formal. People get up and speak on behalf of the client and the hard work they've done, just to acknowledge that from the point of the initial CARE Act petition to graduation, all the wonderful changes, positive changes that have happened. And you just acknowledge the client's hard work.
That's really great. I really love that. And I love that you all are doing a medal. That feels really unique and special, for that person. Karina, what about you all? What all are you doing?
Very similar, actually, as San Francisco. We let them invite people that they want to bring, and we do take turns from all the different providers to speak about the person, have a few words. We let the person speak if they want to, and also the invited guests if they want to do that. They get a sash. We have a big on the wall where it says graduation. After we've done all the formal things, then we stand there and we take pictures. The judge will be there in the pictures, so they get their certificate and they have the sash and they have a nice background. And we make it very celebratory. And then they have the court will bring these cupcakes, and they're very fancy. They look very, very fancy. So they have cupcakes afterwards. And we do give from Behavioral Health, we give them a plant and a gift card. So there's some gifts involved too. And the really nice thing is that a lot of these people have never had a graduation or any kind of recognition like this before. So it's very special to them.
That's really cool. Santandra, how about you?
For our graduations depend on the individual because we do have individual graduations as well as group graduations. So basically what that looks like is having a conversation with the participant, and kind of seeing if they want this group graduation. So, we kind of highlight, but it's
Mhm.
very optional because there are some who do not want the group environment and want to keep it very intimate and private. So then for those, we do just the individual's graduation by themselves in the courtroom. And then we also, for those who prefer the group, we have the big group graduation. So what that looks like is they invite, supporters, parents, friends, providers come, and we work with the judge as well as the public defender. Like we all get together to determine who's going to bring what, how are we going to, make this day magical for them. So that also includes, snacks, cupcakes. We decorate the entire courtroom with graduation symbols, and then we also provide them with certificates. The judge does normally, she likes to say a few words about her gratefulness that they've, went through the program and graduation, highlighting progress as well as treatment providers. And also our behavioral health staff, we also kind of speak on their progress, and all the things that would that we have hope that they will continue that stability, as well as the participants and the supporters also get their opportunity to kind of offer the feedback, about the program, and kind of that because a lot of them really praise the program and they're grateful that the program even exists because a lot of the participants, have not had this much progress in a long time when it came to mental health and stability. So, a lot of the supporters and parents, they like to, highlight, that they're happy that with the progress that their participant has made so far. So we kind of try to make it very, very special for them. We even roll out a red carpet. So, they all walk down this red carpet that we have laid out in the courtroom playing a graduation theme song. So we kind of really, we go really big when it comes to the graduation. So they seem to appreciate, the certificate and all the gift cards and, the words of acknowledgement and praise.
I love the actual red carpet. I think that has to feel really,
Hmm.
really, really special for the people that are involved there. And
Yes.
so I see a couple more questions in the chat. Uh, the first one is, are counties developing their own certificates, or is there a template that's been created that people can use? Assuming you all have your own templates that you developed yourselves. Um,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. And would you all be open if somebody wanted to reach out to you all to look at your template? Would that be something that would be okay if they shot you an
Sure.
email? Okay.
Absolutely. And we do have everybody sign it. So behavioral health signs it, public defender, our county council, and the judge
Oh, that's cool.
signs the certificate for them as well. Yeah.
And then another question, and Kristen, I may have you, if you're in a space that you can come off mute, just to clarify to make sure that I'm capturing this correctly. Curious to see what, if anything, counties have done for a participant who completed year one and has elected to continue into year two. Have you done something in court to honor this like a certificate? So I'm assuming, Kristen, tell me if I'm correct, that you mean, you've reached this year one milestone, you haven't quite graduated yet, but a full year in care and staying engaged is something to be celebrated. Am I capturing that correctly, Kristen? Yes. Okay. Have you all done anything at that 1 year mark for folks that are staying longer?
We have not. No, we wait till the graduation.
Cool. And I assume
Yeah.
same. Go
Yes,
ahead.
we
Sorry.
we we don't. At the 1 year mark, if they choose to stay, in the program, we just still, continue on with the progress. We do highlight, like if they are very, very close, but they just
Mhm.
have that apprehension and want to stay, we still, acknowledge their achievement, their progress, and kind of work towards, it's okay. We understand, kind of empathizing that it's okay to stay longer even though, they've met a lot of milestones, because we do have some that meet a lot of milestones, but still, just for the extra support and assurance, would like to stay longer. So, but we don't have anything specific at this point.
Okay. And I assume the same for you, Charlie? Oh, you just went on mute. There you go.
Um, I should say, when we come to that 12-month mark and we're not going towards graduation, we do say to the client, you have 12 more months left. What do we need to do anything differently? We want to acknowledge that we thought by 12 months you would be in a different place. And so just to really kind of figure out what else is needed. It's kind of a wake up call for us, not so much
Mhm.
for the client, like how haven't we met this person's needs?
I like that. I like that. And then offering the flexibility to say, recovery and stability takes a varying amount of time for person to person, and that's okay. And I really like that, Charlie, that touch point to say, let's look at us, let's look at what you need, let's figure out how we can adjust. This is a great opportunity to do that. And Kristen, I appreciate the question because I think that's a really great consideration for anybody doing care is what points do we have opportunities for celebration? And do we wait until the official graduation? Do we put like mini celebrations in the middle? How do we do that? And I think each court has some opportunity for flexibility and creativity there. That's great. Um, and then, uh, yeah, your court may want to do something, but she's torn. That's interesting. I like that. So I know we're coming close to the top of the hour. Uh, I wanted to ask if you'd share about the most important lessons that you've learned or specific practices that you all think are really important as you're helping people move toward graduation. Charlie, do you mind kicking this off?
I think, and other people have said this, initially letting them know this is a time-limited program.
Mhm.
The clock is ticking once we have a care agreement. And also, as we approach graduation, just really highlight to them all the good work they've done to prepare them, like this is good. This is not a bad thing. Graduation is a good thing.
And do you mind sharing a little bit about the incentives that y'all have used to help keep people engaged?
So we love gift cards, so do clients. Yeah, and so just depending, they got housing. So what do you need? And clients, big thing is I want cable. And so looking through the community, how are we going to get this person cable?
Yeah.
Um, making them feel like I've made it. Clients will say, I know I'm ready to graduate when I have such and such. And it might be a head scratcher to me, but to them, like, no, this means I'm stable. And so really
Yeah.
listening to that and helping them achieve that could be, well, now I have this, these type of bed sheets, and that means I'm good. I'm in a place where I know I'm stable because I've gotten this. And that's part of that graduation process, part of acknowledging it's kind of a token, like, yes, this is a symbol of where you're at, and to really help the client achieve that.
That's really cool. So graduation, or I'm sorry, gift cards to incentivize coming to court and engaging in
Yes.
services, and then these letting that person define success points for themselves. That's really great. Karina, do you mind going next?
Yeah, so I think that we have a really strong team here in Riverside. We all in-house, so we have the peers, we have the case managers, the clinical therapist, and we all work really closely together and see each other every day. We're actually on the same floor of the building here. So it's easy to be able to communicate with one another and to collaborate about a client or a participant. So we have group chats like so and so needs this, who can get that, so we trying to meet everybody's need. Or if somebody is out, somebody else can kind of pick up what needs to be done. So our participants don't have to feel like they only have one person. They do have that whole team of people that can help and that they would know.
That's awesome. Santancha, how about you all?
So the main thing is mainly starting graduation, those graduation talks early. So
Mhm.
that's one of the biggest pieces, starting those talks early with them, also because everything is based off them, because we really highlight this is about you, what you want, your interests, those things that you need. So addressing those fears, addressing those concerns and barriers that they think that might come along with the graduation piece and transitioning, and starting those transitions early, even if that means sending the referrals early, because sometimes there's a wait list for a lot of the other
Yeah.
programs, so starting that
Yeah.
process early on, and kind of preparing them for when that process does happen, and also just reassuring, talking to partners, communities, like educating them on the services and and actually being there to help advocate for those participants, because we want them to feel secure in that transition, and continue to highlight that the end of care does not mean the end of services. It's a continuation of their process, of their treatment, of their recovery, of their goals. And it could, because it is a lifelong process, and it doesn't end with us.
That's great. Well, I know we are close to our closing time, and I just want to say thank you again to our panelists. Thank you to everybody that logged on today, the questions in the chat. the people that we serve are so fortunate to have you all in their corners. And what we saw today is this is not reflexive checkbox work for you all. You are being really intentionally creative and responsive and listening and being client-centered and trauma-informed and really helping people build such a foundation that will serve them long term. And you have just been wonderful. So thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. And with that, I will kick it back to Patricia to close us out.
So we appreciate the panelists and sharing their perspectives and you for joining. The goal is, again, that by the end of the session, you would have been able to explore some strategies from moving from care planning to graduation planning, and then gain insights from other counties on successful models, adaptations, and lessons learned in organizing around graduation. If you're looking for additional resources, there are a few places you can turn to. We have trainings and resource library on the CARE Act Resource Center. We also list upcoming trainings. We have a county directory and we have FAQs on the CARE Act. And there are a number of ways to get in touch with us, but there really is no wrong door. So if you have a question, you don't know where to go, you can send us an email at info@careact.org and we'll connect you with the right resources and go from there. Let us know if you have any questions.